live in one of the most litigious societies ever. Not to mention whether a person gets sued or not. Even if you could kick their ass, even if you're a tough guy, even if it's hit on Gracie, he said, look, just because the guy he did something like that because he's ignorant or whatever issue has got him. He says, is it worth it? Beat somebody up, to possibly go to jail, get sued, whatever it is it worth it? You know, and he just said, unless you're being attacked, assaulted, or you're protecting you or your loved one, do your best to walk away. Because when I think I told a story in the book when and I just had my hands up as they were talking to the guy. Yeah. And before he left, he calls me a punk ass bitch. I thanked him, which probably
was such a backhanded comment. I loved that because I knew when I read it. By that point, I hadn't spoken to you yet. By that point, I had a feeling of your sense of humor or your demeanor, and I could tell that in that moment you definitely said it to him passive aggressively, and I know that hurt him more than the whole thing. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I could think of when he said it. I was just like, oh, wow, thanks.
Well, you do a good job in the book of being transparent and honest about your relationship to fear, just in general, like through your whole life, despite this. It's not a panacea, right, jiu-jitsu? And you, even in that moment, you talk about the fear that you felt, right? You had this conversation in your head of like, oh my, I'm a X degree black belt, I should totally handle it. But there's still that fear. That's something that I think people they're not willing to address, especially if you're like a macho person. Not to promote weakness, or something, but like it's okay to be afraid sometimes, and then to use that fear to either learn or to change your behaviors.
The first time after doing jiu-jitsu, when it first came to me, I was working for Rorion a couple days a week when he was selling his in-action videos. And my job, was to go to his house, take the videos to the post office, drop them off at the post office. And I remember one time I was in the post office and I caught this woman that was in there with her boyfriend. Our eyes caught each other. And the guy saw me looking at his girl. But she was looking at me, so I was just returning, And he goes, what are you looking at? And I said, I'm looking at her. And I don't even know what he said after that. And I felt like, dude, she's with you. What, And, but I remember that my whole body, I was a purple belt. And I kind of I could feel like that fight or flight thing coming on. I didn't run away, but I got my whole body and I remember going back to Rorion and saying, dude, I don't think I deserve a purple belt. Why? He says, well, I told him the story and I said, and I was scared. And he goes, Richard, every time I fight, I'm scared.
Yeah.
But it didn't stop me from getting in the ring. He said, right. Did you run? Did you freeze? I said, no, he said, okay. He said, it's a natural thing. And Dr. Dacia, when I talked to him and he just said, look, you go up on a mountain and go up to a cliff, you're going to have a healthy respect or fear about getting too close, so it's just, it's something that I thought would be erased when I got to that certain level, because in my mind, I went, well, these guys, this jiu-jitsu, man, they kick anyone's ass. They're not afraid. Right. And it made me realize that, and then I remember I talked to Hickson about the same thing. He told me the same thing. So, it's just something that a lot of people don't even realize that they have fear. I mean, how many times you probably hear it in movies, or you maybe even talk to somebody. What are you afraid of? I'm not afraid of anything. Okay, sure. Hope that works for you. But
I think what was interesting for me before I did jiu-jitsu was that I would hear about it, and this is strange that I would hear this from a lot of the people that would talk to me. Is they'd be like, oh, if it ever jumped off, people wouldn't even know it hit them, kind of thing. And this is coming from people that were training actively, having that, white belt bravado confidence about what they're doing. I mean, still to this day, I train 4 times a week. I absolutely love it. And every day that I go in, I learn more about what I don't know. I honestly think than what I do know. And what I've come to the conclusion at this point in my journey, and I plan on doing this for the rest of my life, like I said, I love it, is that regardless of being physically fit and athletic and training nonstop, I don't want anything to do with an altercation. I just don't.